Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video guys. I thought for the post-show thoughts video, I'm just gonna get a cuppa. I'm gonna make it a comfy one. If I were you, I'd probably sit down and get a drink too, unless you're, I don't know, busy multitasking. Are you watching this doing cardio? Are you on the Stairmaster right now?
You naughty, you teasing me, you naughty.
Oh, how I know it feels to be on the other end of that. Hopefully, I can stop you thinking about how painful every single step is if you are currently stepping away. Also, if you haven't already, take your shoes off. It will feel a whole lot better. Now that I finished torturing anyone doing the cardio, I'll get into what this video is going to be. So yeah, I'm just going to sit down and talk about post-show. I hope that you guys enjoyed the last video of show day. It was so fun, and that's actually what I want to start on in terms of talking about it. I literally had the best time. Like, it was such a fun day. It was fucking exhausting, like, I'm not gonna lie. It was so exhausting. It was full of nerves. It was also painful, but aside from all of that, like, in terms of painful posing for that long, and just, you know, being really tired and thirsty and hungry, but aside from that, it was so worth it. Like, every single second was worth it. So I had the best day. I had the best day with brilliant people. I had the best day, you know, showing off the hard work so far. In terms of how the day went and my placings, I didn't place. I was in a class of 12 girls for first timers, and then another class of like 9 girls or so for beginner. So I only entered the first timer and beginner class. It was a, you know, stacked classes with some brilliant athletes. They looked phenomenal, and I was very aware, or at least I felt going into the show, that my condition wasn't quite there. It wasn't quite what I had hoped to bring to my first show, but that is something that, you know, is what I'm working on now, and it will be part of the future plans as well. So it was kind of tough knowing that I was there on show day for my first show, and despite being proud of everything that I'd like achieved so far, I just knew that I could be better. But at the end of the day, that is bodybuilding as a whole. Every single time that you step on stage, you should be better. In terms of what the judges' feedback was, there was a lot of mixed feedback for many of the girls. Some of them told to possibly consider, you know, downsizing their legs or moving to wellness. For me, being quite quad dominant, I really did feel like I was one of the girls there with the more kind of dense quads and legs, to be honest. I thought that I would get feedback that would be along the same lines. However, the feedback that I got was something along the lines of, you know, you've got a great structure, you just need to bring the condition to show off your muscularity even more. And so that is literally what I'm aiming to do. So the next plan, you guys have asked some questions on Instagram, lots of questions about what the next plans are. The next plan is to do the show on the 4th of July, the Two Bros La Familia Championships, and to bring as much kind of condition as I can for that show. I'm 20 days out now, so it's quick kind of in between shows. It's 2 weeks of digging, and then there'll be peak week, and then going into the show. So working my hardest in terms of just getting back to doing prep, getting back into prep. And actually, I think I really needed that first show in order to keep me pushing on, if that makes sense. Like, that first show, being on stage, and, you know, regardless of the fact that I've done this for me, regardless of the fact that I've worked my fucking hardest, and I can say that wholeheartedly, it feels shit when you don't place. Like, no one can deny that. Of course it doesn't feel great, but a champion's mindset is to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go away and work even fucking harder, and I'm gonna earn it, and I'm gonna keep working, and I'm gonna keep working, and you're just not defeated. And so for me, like, it felt shit for like that time that I was on stage and I was watching them kind of do first call outs and not being there. That felt shit, but literally the next day after the show, I was just like, right, time to fucking work. And I think maybe that's just me as a person. Like, one of my strongest traits is resilience, and no matter how much I feel like I can get beaten or get a shit end of the stick or just not have done my best, I'll just come back and work even harder. So I actually feel a fire in my belly now, maybe even more so than I did going into that first show. The kind of mark of like 8 to 3 weeks out, that phase was fucking hard because I was digging and digging and the show still felt so far away yet quite close. And now that I've only got a few weeks left of kind of digging until the next show and then possibly another show after that, it goes to just help give that little bit of extra oomph that I need. What I want to do is to basically go through some of the questions that you guys have asked me both on Instagram and YouTube, because I think it's going to help me explain my kind of plans and how the day went a whole lot better. So I'm going to get stuck into those now. What will I be changing from the judges' feedback is we are just digging for condition and possibly might even take out a little bit of quad volume. I'm actually only doing one set of leg extensions at the moment, and we have even questioned to possibly remove that completely just so that my quads don't look quite as full, because they definitely did look more profound compared to the other girls on stage. How am I approaching my post-show diet? Am I reverse dieting? And how am I finding it post-show? So obviously I'm going straight back into prep because I have another show very, very soon. So what I did post-show, which actually relates to another question that I've had from Alia, how good was that Biscoff donut? Insert here.
This is fucking insane.
Fucking insane. It was so good. Thinking about it is tough, man. Thinking about it is tough. So yeah, basically post show I had that Biscoff donut. I then went out and had the burger and the fries that you guys saw in my last vlog and the shake. And I didn't even eat all of that just because I would have been eating past the point of fullness and I wouldn't have been honouring my hunger cues. So I did kind of like leave some chips, if you know what I mean, just kind of left like the bits that I didn't really want. I ate to satiation. I woke up the next day having chosen foods which I knew would agree with me and were fine. I wasn't bloated. I felt refueled. I felt energised. I mean, I say I chose foods that wouldn't bloat me. I didn't necessarily know that the Biscoff donut wouldn't bloat me, but how can I say this? I definitely didn't go crazy post-show. I literally just had one meal, ate what kind of made me happy, and then went straight back onto it. The day straight after, I was right back onto macros, and we just eased into getting my step count back up and eased into getting cardio back up. Within 3 days, I was straight back into the full swing of things of how things should be on prep or how they were before. So no, I'm not reverse dieting. I'm literally straight back into it. How have I found it? I won't lie. After 18 weeks of kind of not having super highly palatable foods, because it's not necessarily great to stick loads of those in your diet when you are on prep. I think it does kind of promote cravings and things like that. Well, it does promote cravings because for maybe like up to 5-6 days post-show, I have been thinking about food a little bit more. But now I also, because of what I said earlier, I'm so determined to just get back to work. Like that is stronger than my kind of will for food. But getting a taste of how good food is after you've forgotten how good it is something which, you know, it's like playing with fire a little bit. If you have willpower to come back stronger than last time, and you care more about doing well in your shows, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, or at least it's not for me. I think what I will struggle with the most is when I don't have any more shows. After my final show, you know, I've got technically nothing that I need to be dieting for then. So who's to say that I won't struggle a little bit more with control when it comes to eating. But for now, I know that I've got a fucking job to get done, and literally, as the judges have asked, it's to get more conditioned, and I can't do that if I'm eating shit. So it's been straight back onto my usual food, and I have felt more hungry, but at the end of the day, we're pushing for condition. That's just part of it. So I'm hungrier for success and a good comeback.
Okay.
So there's a couple of questions that are similar. Scariest thing about show day and how did I deal with the nerves? The scariest thing about a show day was getting up on that fucking stage. Being on stage at the first spectator bodybuilding show of Two Bros this year was, I mean, it was a privilege. It was fantastic, but it was also terrifying. I didn't realize I was totally chill the whole fucking time. The day before show, the day of show, and then I'm not joking, literally, as I got to the side of the stage, Geordie was stood just behind me, Geordie and I looked at each other and I was just kind of like shaking. Like my legs just started to shake and I was just so nervous before going onto stage. I was nervous on stage. I didn't like mess up any of my posing routine or anything like that, but I wasn't, because I didn't feel confident inside, I wasn't as happy with my performance. When I exude confidence and I'm fucking proud, I wanted to walk onto that stage like, yes, look at me. But I didn't feel that way because, to be honest, I'll get into this in a little bit, but how the day had gone and how I felt within my physique, I actually didn't feel comfortable going onto that stage. I didn't feel like I was at my best, and I think that got the better of me, which I wish it hadn't. But that's just me being totally transparent, you know, and that's something which I'm going to have to take forward into the next show, is regardless of how I feel physically, I need to fucking go and own that shit. And a posing seminar that I went to on Saturday with Hannah, which I'm going to do, the next vlog is going to be about that. That's really kind of given me a little bit of oomph and excitement as to how I'm going to approach the stage next time. So yeah, I didn't deal with the nerves very well. And another thing, which I'm probably going to do going into the next show, is I actually think I will have like a shot or two of fucking vodka or tequila.
2 shots of vodka.
Before I go on stage. Sometimes girls do that just to chill their nerves out a little bit, and I was just like, oh, I should be fine. I wasn't fine. I'm definitely getting bevied. Not to the point where I fall over, but I actually do think I will need that to just get me a bit loosey-goosey next time, you know? Which is surprising because, again, like, I'm sure you guys can understand, I usually am a really confident person, but yeah. I got the stage fright a little bit. I did. I'm going to be honest. What happened on show day, which I didn't expect, and what I didn't know going into show day that I wish I did know. So what I wish I knew was the fact that the show was going to run like 2 hours late. We had practiced peaking me for kind of like looking my best at when I was meant to be on stage. I'd been looking my kind of tightest and at my best around 2 o'clock. We didn't really get on stage until like 4, half 4, something like that, and I was getting nervous as the day went on. I think I was definitely holding a little bit more water. I definitely felt like I looked softer as the day went on, and again, just getting in my own head, kind of looking at other people, knowing that I wasn't bringing the condition that I wanted, and then the show, you know, having to sit around, and actually we weren't fucking told much of what was going on. We were just kind of like waiting, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, bikini first timers, pump up, you're on stage in like 2 minutes.
Oh my god, okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Wait.
Everybody calm down!
I was rapidly pumping up backstage, trying to get my glaze put on, all of that, and my tan got smudged a little bit, so I was trying to get my tan sorted before I went back on stage, or onto stage for the first time. It was just not, it was not conducive to the best that I could look in terms of my physique because of all the hassle that went on. So next time I definitely want to be more prepared backstage, like ready early and hovering around in my bikini ready earlier, because by the time that I got changed into my bikini, all of a sudden things had sped up and they were ready to have us on. So yeah, I need to just probably be extra prepared in terms of how the day is going to go, and maybe just have a little bit of leeway or a bit more preparation in terms of assuming that the show might run late, because it is common for it to run late, especially because we're like the final class on of the day. That was something which I didn't know, I didn't expect, and I don't think it really helped. But of course I can't blame any of like my performance on that, because, you know, you don't blame the tools, you blame the handyman, right? That actually leads me on quite nicely to another question, which is, did I learn anything that I would do differently for the next show? And the answer to that is yes. So, aside from everything that I've already kind of mentioned, being a bit more chilled out, a bit more prepared, having a few bevies, I also wasn't quite happy with my posing. I noticed that in the transition from my back to my front pose, I was like the last person on stage to turn around. I actually think that didn't work in my favour, due to the fact that being the last person to turn around, the last person to kind of walk to the front of the stage, you are the last person to kind of be looked at, and you're not there kind of in front of the judges you know, looking at them, looking at the crowd. So what I am going to look to do when I have my next posing lesson with Phoebe this week is just to speak to her about a kind of transition that I would like to change. I think when I do my eye walk, that's totally cool to do that transition because I've got time and all eyes are on me. But when I'm in my comparisons, a transition where I can be a bit more, boom, turn around to the front, look at me, is going to be a bit more, you know, eye-catching for the judges. And I definitely think that's something I would like to work on. Another thing that I have done in regards to posing is I have ordered a new pair of posing heels. So I absolutely love my posing heels, which are the Lip SDT from Compact. However, they do have a very narrow kind of platform, and my feet are narrow, so my feet fits them. But when we were on stage, there were so many girls that we had to stand really close to each other. And standing really close to each other, trying not to kind of bump into each other, I almost had to kind of like compress a little bit in terms of my posing. I also feel like I didn't have as much space to kind of move out. I felt myself kind of like feeling a little bit less balanced in those shoes. I've compared those because I tried on at the posing seminar that I went to on Saturday. I tried on a wide fitting posing heel called the Cocktail, and that was so comfy. There was so much more kind of room to kind of like spread my weight over, that I'm going to try posing in those over the next couple of weeks and see if I prefer those and possibly wear those on stage too. So even things down to, you know, your shoes helping your balance is something minute that I was fine practicing in those, and then up until show day where I'm put in a scenario where I hadn't practiced, you know, having to be that closely lined up with girls, did I feel less stable. So again, like that's another thing that you kind of don't learn until show day. So there's quite a few things from this show day that I'm taking forward into my next show, which only means that I'm going to come back better. One other thing is that my makeup, I feel like my makeup in hindsight was not as eye-catching as I would have liked it to be, largely due to the fact that I didn't have strip lashes. Speaking to my makeup artist, she said, you've got eyelash extensions, no need to kind of put strip lashes on. But in hindsight, looking at how dramatic some of the eye makeup from the other girls looked and comparing mine to it, I really do wish I had something with a bit more perhaps pop of colour or even just a bit more sparkly and some strip lashes to really open my eyes. Another thing is that I realised I was looking down at the judges a lot, so in all of my photos it looks like I have my eyes closed, whereas I need to look above everybody's heads and kind of at the crowd to make my eyes look open. And also I was smiling a lot, but you can never smile, you know, enough. So smile more, look like I'm having a really good time. So really tiny little things that I never would have learned until show day. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are things that you have to learn from experience. You can never be perfect all of the time. Every show day is going to be different. Every prep is going to be different. So all of these things are going to, you know, add up to bring a better package each time. So yeah, those are just a few things that I'm going to do differently moving forwards. I actually think another big mistake that I made, to be honest, was only entering in the first timers and the beginners category. This was something that Danny and I discussed, just due to the fact that being on stage for the first time, you know, it was going to be exhausting, which it was, especially because they were big classes. I was held up there for a long time. It really, really was tiring. However, the first timer and the beginner classes ended up having like way more girls in than my open class. My open class had maybe like 6 or 7 girls in, whereas the beginners and the first timers had like 9 and 12 girls in respectively. So technically I could have had a better chance at doing well in my open class, just due to the fact that there was less competition. But that is bodybuilding. You don't know who's going to show up on the day. You don't know who you're going to be up against. You don't know how many people you're going to be up against. So again, like, it's a lesson learned from the process. Next time I compete, I will be competing in novice. I'll be competing in beginner again because I'm still a beginner, and I'll also be competing in my open class, and it'll be really interesting as well to see how I compare against the girls who are at the same height as me in my open class, to give me a bit more fair comparison there. So that was one thing in hindsight which I probably would change. I would have entered into my open class as well, but we live and we learn from it, so nothing's ever necessarily a mistake, it's just something to learn from. I'll be honest and say that I have quite a few times had questions that are like, how low have your calories had to go? How, you know, much cardio have you had to do? Did you anticipate this amount of work, etc.? I'd like to think that I'm entirely transparent with you guys in terms of how fucking hard it is, how exhausting it is, how much cardio I had to do. Well, I tell you guys, I do 45 minutes on the Stairmaster every single day. That hasn't changed, you know, I'm doing 15,000 steps a day. That could increase as we start to dig for more condition. When it comes to food, I generally think myself that it's a little bit irresponsible for me to tell the general population how low my food is, because one, this is extreme fat loss, which unless you are prepping for a photo shoot or a bodybuilding show, you do not need to put yourself under, and it doesn't by no means mean that it's going to make your fat loss process faster, because you'll probably struggle with adherence unless you have an extreme goal. And also, it's not healthy. It's not a healthy process. Really underfueling yourself and pushing your body hard. That has to come from you and your body, and how low your calories are going to have to go and how much cardio you're going to have to do is down to you. So it doesn't make sense for me to talk about this, and this is why I don't really want to talk about it, is because you will have to work fucking hard. It is going to be excruciatingly painful, and no matter what the number is in terms of cardio or what the number is in terms of how low your calories go, it's going to fucking hurt. Like, that's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave it there, because I don't want young girls going to, you know, go and underfuel themselves just for the fact that they want to lose a stone or two. Like, that is just not what I'd like to kind of promote on my platform, and I hope that you guys can respect that. Of all of the questions, this has probably got to be the funniest one from Kate. Is there a fridge in the hotel, or did you just use a freezer bag for both days? The really important questions. So on show day, you don't really eat anything, and then obviously the next day you kind of travel home after show, or you know, you might pick up some food along the way. So the only meals I had to take with me were 1 or 2 meals on the way down. So on Saturday, what I ate, and then obviously on show day I literally just had like tiny little bits of rice cakes and dark chocolate. So I just took a cooler bag for the meals that I had remaining on Saturday, and then for the rest of the weekend I didn't even need anything. I stayed in a Premier Inn, which cost you like 30 quid a night. If you are doing as many shows as I am, or if you just appreciate how much competing costs in general, you ain't gonna be spending a whole lot of fucking money on, you know, hotels and Airbnbs that are really expensive. I would advise Airbnb over a hotel, to be honest, because you can't go wrong with having a kitchen and a microwave and stuff like that. But hotels are also really convenient because they're cheap, they're usually close to the venue, and also the makeup artists usually stay there, so you only have to pop to another room to get your makeup done. And also a lot of the other athletes stay there, so it's nice to spend time with them. I took a cooler bag is the answer to that question. So there we have it, guys. That is the post-show recap. We are straight back into prep, we are digging, we are working harder. I'm excited to bring a better package to the stage next time. It might not be my best package, it shouldn't be my best package, because I should only look to improve every single time. But foot is fully on the gas. I'm working really fucking hard, and I'm excited to take you guys along with me. I'm gonna upload every now and then as I go along. I did kind of have the usual Sunday uploads, but I'm gonna scrap that. I'm just gonna upload now as I go along. After 4th of July, reevaluate things, see where we're at, and talk about post-show plans again then. But thank you all so much for following along and for your lovely messages on my last video. If you haven't already checked out my show day vlog, I'm going to leave a little card up here for you guys so that you can go and check it out and have a little look at the Biscoff donut and the burger in a bit more detail. But yeah, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this one. Give me a heads up if there's anything more that you would like me to chat about, anything more that you want to see over the next few weeks as I'm prepping to go into my next show. But otherwise, just drop a like, leave a comment, and please subscribe if you haven't already. We have lots of exciting things coming up in the next month or 2. So much love, guys, have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one.